Get started in just a second here, guys. Just getting the live stream up. Links everywhere. Got a big day today. Big day, and I've got to apologize for my voice. Just coming down with a regular old winter cold. Okay, just about ready. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Live Ones. It is Saturday, February 19th, 2022, and I just need a little bit of a soapbox moment here. All my life, I've loved the Olympics. I've loved what it stands for. I love the spirit of the games. I love the exhibition of pure athletic competition, the bringing together of all the best amateur athletes in the world, the setting aside of personal enmity, the political strife, the ethnic conflict, and everything else going on for the sake of sports. And, maybe my optimism about them stems from not really growing up during the Cold War. It ended when I was in elementary school. I don't have any conscious memory of things like Adolf Hitler using the games as Nazi propaganda, all the blatant flouting of the requirements that athletes be amateurs by the old Soviet bloc countries, the Munich massacre, the boycotts of the games in the 70s and the 80s. But I've always held a special place in my heart for the games. That said, I may never not watch another one again after this travesty in Beijing. Between the unfathomable decision to even allow the games to happen in a country in the midst of committing a genocide against an ethnic minority, and single-handedly responsible for the creation of a virus that's killed 6 million people and paralyzed the world for the last 2 years, the blatantly obvious sports washing China has been engaged in for well over a decade, the Peng Shuai situation, the dystopian industrial hellscape of the Shougang outdoor venue, complete with a giant Beijing 2022 logo branded on the steam stack of a decommissioned steel factory. It was already one of the most embarrassing games in recent memory. But then maybe the biggest and most embarrassing scandal of the games occurred in the form of Kamila Valieva, the 15-year-old Russian figure skating prodigy. She tested positive for the heart drug trimetazine on December 25th at the Russian Nationals, but the test results didn't get delivered to the International Olympic Committee until last week, after she had already helped Russia win gold in the team figure skating event. The IOC ruled that there would not be a medal ceremony for the team event, in which Russia won the gold and the U.S. won the silver. Despite this, she was unfathomably allowed to compete in her free skate, where she fell twice and finished in fourth place. And when she came off the ice, her coach and handler, who more than likely supplied her with the drugs, visibly berated her to the point where she broke down crying, saying she hated the sport and she didn't want to do it anymore. And, this is a 15-year-old girl we're talking about. And it's bad when the NBC commentators who work for Comcast, which is a media empire with billions of dollars worth of partnerships with Chinese state-run enterprises, they're openly expressing their disgust with the whole process on air, live. And in the backdrop of all of this is the International Olympic Committee, which has shown itself in the last 20 years to have been, if not tacitly complicit in the wholesale corruption and abuses of governments like Russia and China, for the sake of their ability to exhibit the games time and again and keep the money flowing in, then they're certainly more than willing to turn a blind eye to it and to hand out perfunctory punishments with absolutely no teeth to them for their infractions. And I'm not saying the American government doesn't have a laundry list of problems. We do. You can't even rightly call us the United States anymore. We're essentially a giant unchecked bureaucracy whose only restraint on its power is the utter laziness of the people in it, ruling a collection of identity group enclaves with no common culture or sense of community connecting us. But our sins are usually born out of shit-thick incompetence combined with the hubris of our ruling class, that they know better than anyone else. They're benign in nature. I would stack them against Russia's or China's any day of the week twice on Sundays. And the fact that any of us are even lending these Olympic Games any legitimacy, which, to be fair, if NBC's ratings are any indication, most Americans aren't, is just another part of that slow, creeping, relativistic moral decay that's defined human society since this third millennium got started. We are all alarmingly comfortable with the metaphysical concept of evil and corruption in our midst. Okay, soapbox over. I just had to do that. Let's take a look at what's on tap for today. With the meaningless NBA All-Star Weekend that people only watch for the skills competition in full swing, it's pretty much college basketball, and that's it. We've got a short slate of NHL games. We've got one play on them, which we'll go over at the end. It's the second to last Saturday for the mid-major conferences. Everyone's got about 5 or 6 more games to play in the majors before the conference tournaments start. Everyone's jockeying for tournament bids, tournament seeds. We've got a loaded card today. We're going to go in chronological order. You might have to live bet some of these depending on when you're watching it. But yeah, let's get right to it. And I have to ask you to excuse my voice. Just getting your standard fare winter cold. So the first game we're looking at is in the Big 12, Baylor and TCU. Baylor's looking to get itself right, hosting TCU at home at noon. The Bears have split their last 6 games, and they're just 6-5 since opening the season 15-0. TCU is 16-7, entering an absolute meat grinder of a final stretch where they have to play 5 of their last 7 games against ranked teams, including 2 against Kansas. They're going to be very, very lucky to escape with a tournament bid when all is said and done. Baylor is getting L.J. Cryer back right when they need him the most. This man is the team's leading scorer in general and second best three-point shooter. Even with the problems they've been having lately, I just like this Bears team top to bottom much more than I do TCU. They're so deep that Jeremy Sochan, who is the 7th leading scorer on the team, is projected as a first-round NBA pick by some mock drafts. That's their 7th scorer on the team. The Bears have covered the spread in 6 of their last 7 games against a team with a winning road record, and the favorite has covered the spread in 11 out of the last 13 games in this rivalry. I'm backing Baylor here, minus 11.5 points. Over to the SEC, one of the top games of the day in college basketball is going to take place this afternoon. Number 4, Kentucky against number 25, Alabama. The Crimson Tide are riding a 3-game winning streak since their 66-55 loss to the Wildcats on February 5th. Kentucky had its 6-game winning streak snapped in a loss to Tennessee on Tuesday, probably the worst game they played all year. And you don't want to be a team facing Kentucky in a get-right spot, especially if you're a team that's been as plagued by as many problems on defense as Alabama has. Still 324th in the country in terms of points per game allowed and 289th in terms of defensive rebounding. The Tide lives and dies by its offense. Problem is, Kentucky's defense is stellar, allowing an average of 64 points a game. I consider that Tennessee game to be an outlier. Kentucky's young. They've got one of the best coaches of all time in John Calipari, and they're more than capable of bouncing back and getting right. These two met a couple of weeks ago, and Kentucky was able to hold Alabama to 55 points. The total of that game was 120. Good teams have been able to bottle up the Tide's offense. You're getting an insanely high total here at 155.5, owing to these two teams' offensive stats. But I think Kentucky holds Alabama's total low. Give me the under 155.5 today. Staying in the SEC with Auburn and Florida. According to BetMGM, the Auburn Tigers are currently tied with Duke and Purdue for the 4th best odds to win the NCAA championship. Auburn has a 2-game lead in the SEC. They're currently first with a 12-1 record. They're 15th in offensive efficiency and 9th in defensive efficiency. This is a complete team that is as tough to beat as any team in the country, home court advantage or otherwise. Jabari Smith, for my money, is a lock for the number 1 overall draft pick right now. Florida, we don't even know if they're going to be able to make the tournament right now. If the season ended today, I wouldn't put them in. They're 6-7 in the SEC. They're on a 2-game losing streak. They got blown out by Kentucky last Saturday, and they lost a squeaker to Texas A&M on Tuesday. I get why this line is where it is. Conference games are usually played tight, and scoring drops off as you get to the end of the season. Everyone's tired, and they're just looking for wins, not style points. But in no universe is Florida anywhere near Auburn's level, even playing at home. Give me the Tigers, minus 4 points today. Back over to the Big 12, Oklahoma and Iowa State. Oklahoma is in absolute freefall. Losers of 8 out of their last 10. The Sooners sit at 14-12 overall and just 4-9 in the Big 12. And they draw a road game with a desperate Iowa State team that's dropped 4 out of 5 and is going to have to finish strong to get into the tournament. They got off on the right foot on Tuesday with a huge 54-51 road win at Texas Tech. Today's battle is going to be critical. The Cyclones finished with 2 road games at Kansas State and then at Baylor, so they have absolutely no room for error, and they know it. Both these teams, they love slow-paced, defensive, grinded-out basketball. The Cyclones are, frankly, just better at it. They're 8th in the country in defensive efficiency, even with their recent slide. Just based on motivation and home court advantage, I'm giving this one to the Cyclones. I think we're getting them at a good price. Minus 2, I'm taking it. And back over to the SEC, LSU and South Carolina. LSU went through a rough stretch of 3 losses to end the month of January, but they've since flipped the script and found a new gear. Surprisingly, on the offensive side of the floor, you think of this team as the epitome of defense-first basketball. But since February started, they've been scoring 73 points a game, and they're shooting 44% from the floor. They've been really great on the glass more than anything else. They've been getting lots of rebounds, drawing lots of fouls. On top of that, they're still as strong as they've ever been on defense, allowing 61 points a game and snatching at least 11 steals a game, tops in the nation. This team plays with absolutely no fear. The Gamecocks, while not as good on defense, are still pretty strong, particularly lately. They held Tennessee to 57 points, Georgia to 68, and Ole Miss to 74 in a game that went to overtime. I'm looking at this total of 139.5. I know both teams have been trending towards the over lately, but with how solid these defenses are, I think that's just way too high. I'm feeling like a 68 to 64 game here. Tight, closely contested, physical on defense, lots of turnovers. Give me the under 134.5. Out to the Mountain West in Wyoming and Air Force. These two teams last met on January 28th, with Wyoming winning a thriller 63 to 61 on the road. Air Force is just a terrible team, sitting at 3-10 in the Mountain West, currently on a 6-game losing streak, following an 85 to 59 home loss to Boise State on Wednesday. Offense has been the problem. This team is 294th in offensive efficiency and close to dead last among all D1 teams in terms of points per game at just 59. And that's against average defenses. Wyoming, 79th in the country in defensive efficiency. They're one of the better defenses in the country, which should in theory keep Air Force's total even lower than that. Excuse me. I don't even see Air Force hitting 55 today, honestly. Give me the under 132 points. Back to the Big 12, Kansas and West Virginia. The Kansas Jayhawks continue their bid for yet another Big 12 regular season title as they travel into Blacksburg to take on West Virginia. The Jayhawks have won 2 straight, and they have a 2-game cushion in the Big 12 with just 6 games left in the regular season. West Virginia, they're a dumpster fire, way worse than anyone thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. They're down in the basement of the Big 12 with 9 losses. They can't hold a lead to save their lives. And we saw it on Monday night against Kansas State when they were up 10 before they lost 78 to 73. Again, this is a case where the line is where it is because it's late in the season. But Kansas is just so much better than West Virginia. This one's a no-brainer. Give me Kansas laying 4 points. All right. Taking a look at Grand Canyon and New Mexico State. These are 2 teams that, believe it or not, are a lot better than you realize, thanks to a very similar defense-first, grinded-out style of play. Grand Canyon is 18-6. They're allowing only 58 points a game on 38.2% shooting from the field and 26% from 3 this season. These guys have the 7th-ranked overall defense in the entire country. They absolutely smothered their opponents. The New Mexico State Aggies are very respectful, 21-4. They're in a 3-way battle for the WAC title with Seattle and Sam Houston. Also very big on defense, 41st overall with 64 points a game allowed, and comparable with Grand Canyon in terms of defending inside the arc, if not quite so much the perimeter. This game is at Grand Canyon. They always turn it up even more so than usual on defense and slow down the pace of play even more at home. Simply put, this total of 134.5 is just way too high given all the circumstances. Give me the under. And late night game, BYU and St. Mary's. I'll tell you what, BYU, decent basketball team, but they are most certainly underachievers who can't cover a spread to save their lives. They're 0 for their last 8. They just barely survived their game against a bad Pepperdine team where they gave up 85 points and needed the offensive performance of a lifetime just to survive. That's not going to happen today against St. Mary's. They've been one of the best defensive stories in all of college basketball this year, ranking 12th overall in terms of points allowed with just a shade under 60 per game. And it hasn't just been against other mid-major teams. This is a squad that held Notre Dame to 59 points, Wisconsin to 55, Oregon to 50, and the last time that they played BYU, they held them to 43 points. I just don't trust BYU to be remotely competitive in this road spot here. St. Mary's is the much better team. Give me St. Mary's -6. And that is it for college basketball. I've got one hockey game on the slate today that I like, and it's just the fact that it's the best team in the league, meaning one of the worst teams in the league. It's going to be a bloodbath. The Avalanche have been rolling all season. They have the second best offense. The Sabres have the 25th overall offense. The Sabres entered this game off of a bad 3-1 home loss to the Ottawa Senators, where it's been clear for all intents and purposes, like it's been all year, that they just don't even care. This team makes absolutely zero effort on either end of the ice, and it's no wonder Echo wanted out of that locker room so badly. This one is a no-brainer, even with a -140 chalk. Take the Avs on the puck line, -1.5 goals. That's going to be it for me for Saturday. Have yourselves a great Saturday. Bet safe, stay safe. Follow us on Twitter at Live1Sports. Check us out on Roku and Fire TV at the Live Ones. Have yourselves a great Saturday. Enjoy the college hoops, and I will see you tomorrow.